Most people are introduced to money through fear, through worry, through a tight fist and a clenched jaw, through the words, "We can't afford it," whispered like a prayer in the dark. And that becomes the only language they ever learn to speak with money. But here's something most people will never tell you. Money is listening to every word you say about it, every thought, every trembling belief you hold in your secret heart. And it responds not to your needs, not to your desperation, but to your invitation. I want to tell you something that will sound absolutely strange at first. Money has intelligence. Not in the way a person has intelligence, but in the way the universe has intelligence. The same way that a seed knows exactly how to become a flower, the same way your body knows how to heal a cut without you thinking about it, money knows how to find its way to you, but you have to speak its language. You have to introduce yourself properly. You wouldn't walk up to someone at a gathering and say, "You never come to me. You love everyone else, but you hate me. Why do you avoid me?" Would you? Of course not. Yet that's exactly how most people talk to money every single day. When I first discovered this truth, I was standing in my small apartment, looking at a stack of bills I didn't know how to pay. My hands were shaking, my throat was tight. And I heard myself saying out loud, "There's never enough." 3 words, simple, deadly. Because the moment I spoke them, I felt the universe agree with me. I felt possibility close like a door. That's when I realized I had been introducing myself to money the same way for years. "Hello, I'm Florence, and I'm someone who never has enough." What a terrible introduction. So I decided to try something different, something that felt foolish and radical and completely against everything I'd been taught. I decided to introduce myself to money the way I would introduce myself to a dear friend I wanted in my life, with welcome, with warmth, with absolute expectation that we belonged together. I stood there, still shaking slightly, and I said, "Money flows to me easily and constantly." It felt like a lie in my mouth. My logical mind screamed at me. But something deeper, something that knew better, relaxed. Let me tell you what happened next, because it wasn't magic in the way you might think. It was something better. It was a shift. Within 3 days, someone paid me for work I'd done months before and forgotten about. Within a week, I had an idea for a service I could offer that I'd never considered. Within 2 weeks, money that had been stuck suddenly moved. Did the universe rain gold coins on my head? No. But doors opened, ideas came, opportunities appeared. Because I had finally introduced myself properly. You see, most of us meet money like an enemy, an abuser, a ghost we're terrified of. We approach it with our list of failures, our history of lack, our terror of tomorrow. We say, "I'm so bad with you, I never keep you, you slip through my fingers, I'm not worthy of you." And money, intelligent as it is, hears this introduction and thinks, "Well, if that's who you say you are, then that's who I'll meet." The universe is always saying yes to your deepest beliefs about yourself. Always. It never argues. It never corrects you. It simply reflects back what you've claimed. So the question isn't whether money is listening. It absolutely is. The question is, what are you telling it about who you are? What introduction are you offering every single day with your words, your thoughts, your expectations? Because I promise you this, money is waiting for a proper introduction. It's waiting for you to speak to it the way you'd speak to something you love, something you welcome, something you absolutely expect to see walking through your door. And when you finally do, everything changes. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this sounds too simple, too easy, maybe even too strange. You might be saying to yourself, "But Florence, I have real bills. Real debt, real problems. I can't just talk nicely to money and expect it to appear." And you're right about one thing. This isn't about pretending your reality doesn't exist. This isn't about denial or fantasy or ignoring what's true. This is about understanding a deeper law that governs how substance moves in this universe. It's about understanding that your word is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the possible and the actual. Your word is creative power itself. Let me share with you exactly what I mean. There was a woman who came to me once, absolutely desperate. She owed money to everyone. Her landlord, her grocer, her sister. She would wake up in the middle of the night with her heart pounding, rehearsing conversations where people demanded payment she didn't have. She had, without realizing it, built an entire relationship with money based on fear, shame, and avoidance. When I asked her to describe money, she said, "It's the thing I can never hold on to. It's proof that I'm a failure." Do you hear that? That was her introduction. Hello, money. I'm a failure who can't hold on to you. I told her we were going to change her introduction. She looked at me like I was insane, but she was desperate enough to try. I had her write a new introduction and speak it every single morning and every single night. This is what she said. I am someone money loves to come to. I am a good steward. I am provided for abundantly. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. At first, she cried when she said it because it felt so far from her reality. Her mind fought her history fought her. But she kept saying it. She kept offering that new introduction. Within a month, her sister called and forgave a debt without being asked. Within 6 weeks, she found $20 in an old coat pocket, then $50 in a book. Then she got a job offer that paid twice what she'd been making. Were these coincidences? No. This was the universe responding to a new vibration, a new claim, a new introduction. She had stopped telling the story of the woman who couldn't keep money, and she started telling the story of the woman money loved to find. And the universe, always listening, always agreeing, said yes. This is what I need you to understand deeply, in your bones, in your soul. Every single day, you are in conversation with the substance of the universe. You are speaking to money, whether you realize it or not. When you sigh and say, "I wish I could afford that," you're speaking to money. When you think, "People like me don't get to have nice things," you're introducing yourself to money. When you panic at the mailbox, when you avoid checking your bank account, when you say, "I'm so broke," you are actively, powerfully, creatively introducing yourself. And money is receiving that introduction and responding accordingly. But here's the beautiful, liberating truth. You can change your introduction right now, this very moment. You don't have to wait until you have more money to speak differently about money. You don't have to earn the right to claim abundance. You simply have to understand that your word shapes your world. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual law. This is understanding that consciousness precedes form, that your inner conversation externalizes as your circumstances, that you cannot have in your experience what you do not first claim in your awareness. So how do you introduce yourself to money? Not with begging, not with desperation, not with a recitation of all your past failures. You introduce yourself with claim, with recognition, with the kind of calm certainty that someone uses when they're simply stating what is. You say, "I am divinely guided and prospered." You say, "Infinite substance manifests for me now." You say, "I am a channel for infinite supply." And you say it, not because it's true in your bank account yet, but because it's true in the realm of the possible. And your word is the key that unlocks the door between those two realities. I've watched this transformation happen hundreds of times. I've seen people go from absolute lack to overflow. Not because they worked harder, though inspired action always follows. Not because they got lucky, though what looks like luck often appears, but because they changed their introduction. They stopped meeting money as a beggar and started meeting it as a beloved. They stopped talking about money like it was their enemy and started talking about it like it was their friend. They stopped introducing themselves with their history and started introducing themselves with their vision. Think about this. When you meet someone new and you want them to like you, to know you, to understand who you are, you don't lead with your worst qualities. You don't say, "Hello, I'm terrible at relationships and I always mess things up and I'm probably going to disappoint you." You lead with your best self, with your intention, with who you're becoming. That's all I'm asking you to do with money. Lead with your highest vision of yourself in relationship to abundance. Lead with claim, not complaint. Lead with expectation, not fear. But you must be consistent. You cannot introduce yourself one way in the morning and another way by afternoon. You cannot speak words of abundance and then spend the rest of your day rehearsing lack. Your inner conversation must align with your spoken word. This is where most people fail. They say an affirmation once and then spend the next 23 hours contradicting it. They declare prosperity and then immediately worry about bills. They claim abundance and then gossip about how broke they are. And they wonder why nothing changes. Your word is powerful, but it must be your sustained word, your committed word, your word that you defend against every contradicting thought. I remember a man who would say his prosperity statements beautifully, with such conviction, but then he'd pick up the phone and tell his friend, "I'm drowning in debt. I don't know how I'm going to survive." Do you see what he was doing? He was introducing himself two different ways, and the universe didn't know which one was real. Actually, that's not quite right. The universe knew exactly which one was real. It could feel which statement carried his true belief. And it was the second one. The complaint carried more emotional weight than the affirmation. His fear was louder than his faith. So that's what manifested: more debt, more struggle, more drowning. Your introduction to money must become your dominant conversation. Not your only conversation, but your dominant one. The conversation you return to. The conversation that carries the most weight. The conversation you defend. When a thought comes that says, "You'll never have enough," you must immediately counter it with your true introduction: "I am supplied from the infinite." When fear whispers, "What if it all falls apart?" you must answer with your claim: divine supply is always present. This is not about lying to yourself. This is about understanding which voice speaks truth and which voice speaks from the trauma of the past. Money is not your problem. Money is neutral. Money is substance seeking an outlet, seeking someone who can receive it with grace and wisdom. Your problem has never been money. Your problem has been your introduction. Your problem has been the story you tell about yourself in relationship to money. And here's what's so magnificent about this truth. You can rewrite that story today, right now, this very moment. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait for circumstances to change. You simply need to change your introduction and commit to it with everything you have. So let me give you the introduction that will change everything if you use it. Are you ready? This is how you meet money from this day forward. I am a perfect channel for infinite abundance. Money flows to me easily, frequently, and joyfully from expected and unexpected sources. I am divinely guided in all my ways, and right action is revealed to me. I am a wise steward of wealth, and I use it to bless myself and others. There is no lack in spirit, and I am spirit manifest. I welcome money as a friend, and use it as a tool for good. That is your new introduction. That is how you shake hands with prosperity from this moment on. Say it until it feels natural in your mouth. Say it until your nervous system stops fighting it. Say it until you catch yourself believing it in unguarded moments. Say it until it becomes the background hum of your consciousness. Because I promise you, money is listening. The universe is listening. And the moment your introduction changes with genuine commitment, your experience will begin to shift. Not because you're manipulating some cosmic vending machine, but because you've finally aligned yourself with the truth of infinite supply that has been waiting for you all along. You've finally introduced yourself as who you really are, a divine being with full access to all that the universe contains. And that changes absolutely everything. Now let me tell you a story that will show you exactly how this works in real life, because I know the logical mind needs proof. There was a time in my own life when I needed $800 urgently. This was a substantial sum, and I had absolutely no idea where it would come from. My old self would have panicked, would have made phone calls, begged, borrowed, schemed, would have stayed up all night sick with worry. But I had learned by then about proper introductions. I had learned about the law. So instead of panicking, I did something that looked completely foolish to the logical mind. I spoke to the universe as though the money was already on its way. I said out loud, "I give thanks that the $1,000 comes to me now, under grace, in a perfect way." I didn't beg. I didn't plead. I spoke with the authority of someone who already possessed what they were asking for. My friends thought I had lost my mind. "That's not how the world works," they said. But I had seen too much by then. I had witnessed too many so-called coincidences, too many perfect timings, too many impossible doors swinging open at precisely the right moment. And you know what happened? Within 3 days, I received a check, not from any source I could have predicted, not through any channel I had been watching. The money came from a completely unexpected direction, almost as if the universe had conspired to prove a point. This is what I need you to understand. The universe doesn't care about your logic. It doesn't operate according to the limited understanding of the conscious mind. It responds to the frequency you're broadcasting, to the faith you hold, to the words you speak with conviction. When you say, "I can't afford this," the universe hears that as an order and ensures you remain in a state where you cannot afford things. When you say, "Money never comes to me," you're literally instructing the creative force of life to keep money away. Your words are not passive observations, they are active commands. I've worked with people who were flat broke, who had every logical reason to despair, and I've watched them completely transform their circumstances by changing nothing but their inner speech. One woman I knew was facing eviction. She had $7 to her name. But she started blessing her bills, saying, "I give thanks for my wealthy places," and speaking to money as though it was a cherished friend returning after a long absence. Within 2 weeks, she received an unexpected inheritance. The relative who left it to her had made the decision months before, but the timing of its arrival was perfect. Was that coincidence? Or had her shift in consciousness created a pathway for the money to flow? This is the part that frustrates the skeptics. They want a mechanical explanation, a formula they can trace with their fingers. But consciousness doesn't work that way. You cannot see the mechanism by which your thoughts shape reality any more than you can see electricity, but you can see its effects. You can witness the light that comes on when you flip the switch. And so you begin to understand. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a participant in creation. Every thought you think is a vote for the world you want to live in. The woman who constantly says, "I can never find good help," will continue to attract unreliable people. The man who declares all the good opportunities are taken will walk past open doors without seeing them. They are not cursed. They are simply living in the world their words have built. But here is the magnificent truth. You can change your world by changing your word. I have seen it happen in an instant. A woman came to me drowning in debt, her life a cascade of financial disasters. She spoke constantly of lack of money, lack of opportunity, lack of luck. Her words had built a prison around her prosperity. I gave her one instruction. For 30 days, speak only words of abundance. When you open your wallet, bless what is there. When you pay a bill, thank the universe for the service you received. When you see wealth, say, "There is plenty for everyone, including me." She thought I was mad, but she was desperate enough to try. Within 2 weeks, an old debt was forgiven. Within a month, she received an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative she barely knew. Within 3 months, her income had doubled. Magic? No. She had simply removed the dam that her own negative speech had built against the river of supply. The universe is not withholding from you. You are withholding from yourself through the frequency of your thoughts and words. This is why I teach. Never speak defeat. Never claim limitation. Never describe your life in terms that bind you to suffering. When someone asks how you are, and you are struggling, you need not lie. But neither must you reinforce misery. Instead of "I'm broke," try "I'm reorganizing my finances." Instead of "I'm so unlucky," say "I'm learning and growing." Instead of "nothing ever works." Out for me, declare "my good is on its way." These are not empty affirmations. They are the reconstruction of your reality from the ground up. You are standing at a crossroads right now. In one direction lies the path of unconscious creation, where you speak carelessly, think habitually, and wonder why your life never changes. In the other direction lies the path of deliberate creation, where every word is chosen, every thought is examined, and your life becomes a reflection of your highest vision. Which path will you choose? The choice, my friend, is yours alone. No teacher can make it for you. No guru can walk this path in your place. I can show you the principles, illuminate the laws, share the stories of those who have proven these truths, but you must be the one to apply them. You must be the one to stand guard at the door of your mind and say, "No, that thought shall not enter here." And here is what I've learned after years of watching students transform their lives. The ones who succeed are not necessarily the most educated, the most wealthy, or the most naturally optimistic. They are simply the most consistent. They are the ones who refuse to give up, who catch themselves when they slip into old patterns of speech, who gently redirect their thoughts back to truth again and again and again. Success in this work is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about waking up each morning and consciously choosing your words, even when the outer world seems to contradict everything you're affirming. It's about catching yourself in the middle of a complaint and transforming it into a statement of faith. It's about speaking your good into existence day after day, even when you can't yet see the evidence with your physical eyes. You see, most people give up just before the breakthrough. They affirm for a week, a month, maybe even 3 months, and when they don't see immediate results, they throw up their hands and say, "This doesn't work." But invisible forces have been set in motion. Seeds have been planted in the invisible realm. The manifestation is already taking form, but they abandon the garden just before the harvest. I want you to imagine a farmer who plants seeds in the spring, then digs them up a week later to see if they're growing, then plants them again, then digs them up again. Would you be surprised if no crop ever appeared? Of course not. Yet this is exactly what most people do with their words. They affirm one day and doubt the next. They speak faith in the morning and fear in the evening. They plant and uproot, then wonder why nothing grows in their life. The law requires consistency. Your word must be steadfast. When you declare a thing, you must continue to declare it until it manifests not with desperate straining, but with calm, joyous expectation. You water your affirmations with faith. You protect them from the weeds of doubt. You wait with confidence, knowing that harvest time will surely come.